Major changes are coming for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a recent report has revealed that CEO of MLSE Keith Pelley is looking to make some major shakeups to the Toronto Maple Leafs management and that Brendan Shanahan's future in Toronto could be in jeopardy. So I'm going to break all that down in this episode, but before we do, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm currently in the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship, so bear with the quality. The camera and mic quality is not where it usually is, but I'll be back in a few days for that. Still wanted to get the content out for you guys. But Darius, this all stems from a very interesting report revealing that Keith Pelley, who is the CEO of MLSE, could be looking to make a major shakeup to not only Toronto Maple Leafs, but a bunch of different teams. But this is a very interesting report. Let's just not waste any more time and let's dive right into it. You can see it here from David Alter. It says, earlier this week, Keith Pelley parted ways with TFC and Argos president Bill Manning. What, if anything, does that mean for the Leafs moving forward? And we'll dive into the full article, here in a second. But Darius, basically a bunch of changes have happened across the board for all the teams that Keith Pelley manages, essentially. And Brendan Shanahan is a guy that has kind of been lackluster, especially as of late for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it seems like if they're moving on with a bunch of different other teams and management there, Keith Pelley's not afraid to make moves, and Shanahan could be the one on the way out next.
Yeah, and for everyone watching, Nick is in the middle of the ocean and still putting in that work, and so is Keith Pelley. He's putting that work already, just a few months into his job, shaking things up, right? Like TFC has been bad for quite some time. I think 2 years, going on 3 years now. They've been bottom of the league when they're paying players a lot of money. They got a lot of star players that they're paying a lot of money to, and they're not performing. So stop me if you've heard that before with the different teams. So he's starting to shake things up in MLSE with TFC and the Argos. So I would be shocked if, he won't do that with the Leafs and even the Raptors. The Raptors look like, they're slowly making their way back up from a rebuild, but the Leafs, things, at least in the playoffs, have not gone well for them. So I do wonder if there is a world where there is a shakeup coming next season, because there are rumors that Brendan Shanahan, for example, his contract could be up at the end of next season. So I wonder if there's a world where he's not renewed, because a lot of this at this point rests on his shoulders because there's nobody else to blame. Kyle Dubas is gone now. Sheldon Keefe has been fired. Now it lies on Brendan Shanahan. So I wonder if there is a shakeup coming in the next couple, months to a year.
Yeah, that's kind of what the article entails. We know that at the end of the postseason, we had the press conference right after the season ended, and this is what Pelley had to say. He called Shanahan a champion. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup winner. And what I saw in my 4 weeks with the two gentlemen beside me show me that the chemistry and unity is being built at the highest levels. Essentially, back then, at least a couple months ago, when the Boston Bruins eliminated the Leafs, saying that Shanahan's our guy going forward at least this year. And he was actually asked a direct question from a reporter, will Shanahan return? The answer is yes. But again, you can see in the second paragraph here, it said it may have been too early to do something, but Pelley did take action earlier this week with the two other teams. And Darius, this kind of lends into the fact that for a while, we've seen, really since 2016, but for 2018, the core four, we've seen a lot of the same people, the same management. This is the first time we're starting to see some sort of change with Sheldon Keefe being the first one gone. Now Shanahan, if he's the one who leaves next, that kind of lends credence to the fact that some major changes definitely need to happen depending on how this season goes. And we've kind of spoke about this off camera. This is probably Shanahan's last chance. We both thought that he was going to be let go at the end of last season when they lost again. We thought he was going to be a part of the Sheldon Keefe firings and that Shanahan was going to be let go, maybe in not a firing manner, but let him go on his own terms. But it seems like, which is very good for if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, now that Keith Pelley is running the show here, he's not afraid to make big changes, and that could lend credence to the fact that he can make big changes, to management, which ultimately would obviously flow down into the player side of things as well. But you can't deny the impact that Shanahan has had on the business side of the Maple Leafs. But the question now is he the guy to take them to the next step to help compete for a cup, specifically over the next 2 to 3 years when they have guys like Tanev and OEL locked up for and in their prime for the next little bit? Like, time is now for the Leafs, and if Shanahan doesn't, and it's not just Shanahan, of course, it's Berube, it's all these guys, Treliving, if they don't make it to the playoffs and make a deep run, I think this is the end of Shanahan's tenure as a Leaf, and that's what this report kind of entails, because he's made changes for other teams and is not afraid to make those big moves, unlike former MLSE CEOs.
Yeah, it could very well be the end for Brendan Shanahan as the Leafs president, heading into the next offseason in 2025, if his contract, of course, it's rumored to be up in that time frame. But like you said, you cannot deny Brendan Shanahan as the president. You cannot deny what he has done, right? At least on the business side, everything is so much better than it was in 2015 when he took over, 2014, excuse me. Everything's so much better. And, MLSE is making money. They will make money despite themselves anyway, right? No matter what, they will make money. But everything on the business side is so much better. Everything that he's done and, how he's built up that organization organization again from the bottom, because it was really bad before. I mentioned it before in a video. They didn't even have nutritionists before, right? So it's come a long way with Brendan Shanahan at the helm. But in terms of on-ice product, he has been stubborn in moving off of things that do not work. And he's been sitting on things since 2016, 2017, like we've been saying, that do not work. And he had an opportunity last summer, we've touched on it, to not necessarily him, but maybe Kyle Dubas at the time, to move off of somebody like Mitch Marner. William Nylander was even in talks last year to be moved off of, traded, and that didn't happen. Instead, Kyle Dubas was fired, and nothing happened. And Brendan Shanahan still has a job. So a lot of this falls on his shoulders, and I am a bit worried too of a scenario where, you know, he does get let go or not renewed, whatever that may look like, you know, come next season or even middle of this season. And it's just, you know, a wheel of constant firing and blaming people and finger pointing, because you do need stability still in the organization. I do believe that. So I hope they don't get into a habit of like every 2 years somebody's getting fired after this. And I am worried about the constant firings because they keep pointing fingers, but at one point does somebody take, you know, all the accountability? Because a lot of this, like I mentioned, falls on Brendan Shanahan at this point. He was reluctant to move off of Mitch Marner or even William Nylander last season, and as we've seen now, it seems like William Nylander's, you know, proving to be more worth it in the long run for the Toronto Maple Leafs, scoring in the playoffs, stuff like that. So these decisions put the Leafs where they are now, right? And with the salary cap structure that they have. So this could very well be Shanahan's last run.
Yeah, and if you rewind time, Shanahan was one of the main reasons that they didn't trade Mitch Marner way back before the no move clause would have came into effect, and that was ultimately why Kyle Dubas was let go. But there's a bunch of other things that, you know, factor and at stake here, not just the Leafs, but the, you know, Sportsnet, Bill Rogers, all these things. So maybe that's why they're keeping Shanahan on for now. But until then, you can see here, maybe status quo. And while Leafs fans may demand a more significant change with the club from personnel to staff, it's evident that any real shift won't occur until after the upcoming season. So it seems like changes are definitely imminent. It's just a matter of whether they happen now, and there still is a chance that they probably don't happen until the upcoming season, especially with the way that things have gone. And you also, if you look at what he had to say back at the postseason press conference, he said, "We're not here to sell jerseys, we're here to win," and that was him on the vision for the Leafs in the same press conference, that he basically committed to Brendan Shanahan for the foreseeable future. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. There's a lot of things on the go, but when changes like this are happening across, again, not just the Toronto Maple Leafs, but other teams as well, it has a direct impact to the Leafs. And if he's not afraid to make changes, we've already seen that. Again, he's not the one making the personnel changes, so he wasn't the one who chose to fire Sheldon Keefe or any of these guys. We've already seen some significant changes, at least from the coaching staff, considering Keefe was there for however many tons of years. Now to see Berube maybe see some of these other changes, this is at least a positive sign, depending how they do this upcoming season. This is a big season for the Leafs. So any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a huge season for the Leafs, right? And even the season after that, because a lot of money comes off the books as well. But this is a very defining season for the Leafs and their management. And we've talked about it before that, you know, there was rumors of Kyle Dubas not even being able to be in the same room with Brendan Shanahan. Like that relationship kind of dwindled down. And it seems like he has a really good working relationship with Brad Treliving right now. So that's good too. They have the same vision for the team. And maybe Shanahan's vision of the team is evolving a little bit because obviously he's kept the core guys together. But a lot of this does fall on him at this point. There's nobody left to blame besides the players, but he's kept the players together, really, right? Like he's been in charge of that. So like you brought up, Keith Pelley said they're not here to sell jerseys because that's been going great. Like we talked about Brendan Shanahan, all that, you know, sales rep, finances, all that's great for MLSE. That's all great. But he said it. He is not here to sell jerseys. He's here to make winners. And I think he just proved that with the shakeup going on with TFC, because they can sell a lot of jerseys. They have a lot of really good talent, but that team is not performing and he's making a change. So I think it could be time that the Leafs, you know, maybe do the same thing after at least after this season.
At least we're seeing signs of change. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that, and if you want to see Shanahan stay or go. See you soon.